The devs have just brought down the hammer on Oracle Disc Priest. They've nerfed Mistweaver, they've buffed Mistweaver, they've buffed Holy Priest. They've done a lot of healer tuning, so we're going to go over that in today's video. But I just want to say right off the jump, I do believe Disc Priest did need a nerf. We're going to look at the stats here in just a moment. They definitely did need a nerf, but this is pretty heavy-handed. I'm going to admit, normally, I think a lot of people think I only stand up for the Mistweaver nerfs. But no, I think it was pretty heavy-handed. I think a lot of what's going on is community perception. A lot of people have swapped to Oracle Disc Priest because in the high-end keys, you see that Oracle Disc Priest is just necessary to survive a lot of the damage. And it trickles down, and you see a lot of people getting declined for 100 keys that they could definitely do, and then they see they accept a Disc Priest, and it's just, I think a lot of it's community perception. But let's go ahead and get into it. But yeah, don't mind that. They definitely did need a nerf, but not this big, I think. So starting off with Druid, think about how you would change Resto Druid right now. It's performing pretty well. It does pretty solid throughput. Can, get high keys done if it needs to, but it really doesn't do much damage outside of like cat weaving. So I personally would have liked to see like a moonfire buff, like a slight little moonfire buff, or like a starfire, like something you have to cast and it does like no AoE damage. Like it would have been nice to see something like that to the little owl weaving build, but no changes to Druid. I think they want to, tone the other healers, adjust accordingly, and see where everything lands. And then I think like we're gonna see more kind of tweaks and adjustments later on. So you know what? Although I think that they could have changed something right now like that, like a Starfire damage buff. It's nice to see that they're doing this. They're kind of gonna let things land where they land and see and go from there. Same with Evoker, Pres Evoker. I think people have overlooked at this tier. I think it's traditionally one of the less played healers. I know I say tradition, it just came out last year, or last expansion, but no changes to Pres Evoker. I think their damage in raids is like pitiful because they have no passive damage like a lot of the other healers. Like Mistweavers just straight up do passive damage, Disc Priest as well. It's like that's how we heal. But other specs, they have like powerful dots that they can maintain, like druids are pressing Wrath to get some mana and stuff, like but all they have is really Fire Breath's dot, and it really does not do enough to keep them active. So it would have been nice to see a nice little damage buff to this spec, but once again, just going to see where things land. Monk, the first big shift. So Mistweaver Monk is seeing another change to Jade Empowerment. So at the beginning of the season, Crackling Jade Lightning would hit your initial target by 3,000%, and then I believe it would cleave onto 4 targets for 10%. And then they changed it to 2,500 and 15%. Now they're further putting this down to 2,000% on your initial target. So it's going to still nuke your initial target, but by much less. They're nerfing this by a fifth on single target, and then it's going to cleave. And then if you hit the full 5 targets, it will equate to 4,000 total damage of a Crackling Jade Lightning. But this is definitely a nerf. Once again, it doesn't get better at any target counts. It specifically gets worse at lesser target counts than 5. So on single target, like in raid fights, we're going to be doing a lot less healing. Like one of our biggest little moments of healing, which was our Jade Empowered Crackling Jade Lightnings, and we would store up like 2 charges, unleash them in our Shallow's Lesson buff or something like that. It's getting nerfed by a fifth, and that's a lot of damage, yes, that we're missing out, but it's also a lot of healing that we're missing out. And in a second, once again, we're going to go over the stats. I'm going to look at some of the numbers, and we're going to see if a lot of this stuff is justified. But once again, this is just a nerf to single target, basically single target and small target counts to our biggest damage source and one of our biggest healing sources. This also notably hurts us in Mythic Plus by quite a bit. Like imagine doing Cinderbrew Meadery, and imagine you've been practicing with your little push group on a plus 17 Cinderbrew Meadery, and you're like, here's how I'm going to handle each dot set, like the 2 dots that the first boss applies. You do like Chi-Ji for the first one, you double Crackling Jade Lightning the second one, you you have your little cycle. Well, now like double Crackling Jade Lightning might not be enough to heal it. It might be single Crackling Jade Lightning plus Shayloons might not be enough. Like the numbers changing here really does suck in not just Raid, but also Mythic Plus. So pretty annoyed at this change. I think a fifth is another giant chunk that they're taking off of the single target. It would have been nice to see a smaller number like 2250 maybe, or something other than 2000, but I mean, you know what? I guess keep fun detected, I guess. But anyways, okay. Shaylun's gift healing is increased by 15%. You see, in raid, we're now taking Shaylun's gift with Shaowao's lesson, but that's almost specifically to get the buff before we do big moments like our crackling jade lightnings, like our revivals, like our Chi-Jis. But Shaylun's gift getting healing increase is definitely needed, especially to make up for the lack of healing that we're going to have on Mythic Plus bosses. Shaylun's gift is like a shell of what it used to be. It's still very powerful, especially if you let it stack up, especially if you have like healing modifiers like Chi Harmony, like your Enveloping Mist on your allies. It definitely can pack a punch, but you know, it doesn't do as much healing as it used to. So seeing it get a tweak is honestly very welcome. And this is also pretty exciting for the new talent. What is it? Emperor's Favor, the one where you can make your Shaylun's gift a single target heal and it just like juices up really heavy. So now that could be more powerful at less stack. So that's pretty exciting if you wanted to go that route. But all in all, this is just like okay, you can tell that they're kind of compensating for what they know this is going to do to our Mythic Plus. It's just going to make us struggle on bosses a little bit more. It's not going to be as bad as it used to be before Jade Empowerment, but it's a thing. And then also they're kind of pushing us further in the direction of going back to our Yulon build in Raid. So trying to buff Rushing Wind Kicks, buff to Renewing Mist, where it increases how hard your Renewing Mist heal after you press Rushing Wind Kick. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are pretty happy that we're playing the Chi-Ji build. I think a lot of people aren't happy. Very fair. So I would have liked to see like them initiate with this, maybe these two buffs, and then like see where things land. See if people start picking up Yulon again, and then come in like next week when they tune Evoker, tune Druid and stuff, and bring in this change. I would have liked to see that first, but I mean, I guess I am biased. I'm not gonna say I'm not. So, okay, next up, Holy Paladin. Shining Righteousness now requires 4 Shield of the Righteousness to activate. The free Word of Glory was 5, so you're just gonna get free wogs left and right. It's not like that crazy, but it's just rewarding you further for being able to actually do damage in Mythic Plus. Because their damage, I'll be honest, it's kind of bad in Mythic Plus. It's definitely, I mean, that's coming from a Mistweaver, but when you compare them to Mistweaver, when you compare them to Disc Priest, like, yeah, their damage is very poor. So now giving them more of a reason to be able to press one of their damage buttons, pretty nice. I like this change. Righteous Judgment chance now increased to 100, was 50%. Very, very nice change. Veneration now transfers 280% of the damage done into healing. Very nice once again, allowing you to get away with these like damage builds. So it'd be nice to see if they go back to like a Avenging Crusader playstyle. I don't know. I haven't really seen that new Ellismere build. I definitely want to look into it because people are kind of hyping it up. Let me know if you've tried it, if you like it. But I wonder if it plays Avenging Crusader now. I should look into it. But adjust reward healing increased by 80. So they're seeing some pretty nice changes. Light of the Martyr no longer transfer overheal into healing absorbs. I never even knew that it did that. Who's playing Light of the Martyr? Maybe the new build is playing Light of the Martyr. But I'm really glad that they're actually tuning Holy Paladin instead of just letting Disc Priest and Mistweaver kind of fall a bit and seeing if Holy Paladin can kind of wedge itself in. I definitely think that they did need this push. But it is very concerning that Holy Paladin is getting buffs, but like Pres Evoker's not, especially when we look at the stats later. But let's just get through all this list and then we'll look at the stats. Disc Priest, the big one. Discipline Priests, this is what the devs say, are performing beyond where we would like them to be. I do agree. So we're reducing the impact of Power Word Shield. Great. Penance. Okay. And Atonement. Oh, wow. Okay, so three things, and 2 of them scale off of each other. So pretty brutal. So Wheel and Woe now increased the absorb shield of Power Word Shield by 5% per stack, was 10%. This is big. I mean, they were putting giant shields on people. Now those shields are still going to be pretty big, but a lot less. So you're going to see a lot of math change in those higher end keys. So people who have been practicing pushing those like 19s and 18s are now going to just like struggle. They might have to swap mains, who knows, but that's huge. That's a hefty one. Also, penance damage and healing now reduced. Wow. Penance damage penance damage reduced is a big one. Um, that's a lot less healing. That is a big source of their healing from their atonements, their big atonement ramps in Raid, but also Mythic Plus. That's a huge chunk of healing lost. Stack that on top of, we're going to skip one. Stack that. Oh, no, we're not. Allies with atonement are now healed for 28% of the damage done instead of 32. So that is huge. Not only are they getting 4% of their damage less as healing, but stack that on top of penance doing less damage. That is a lot less throughput. That's pretty brutal. I think a lot of what was making them like very strong was the shields in Mythic Plus, but then also just their throughput in Raid. So personally, I would look at how they were performing and think, let's nerf their shield throughput for sure. Like Wheel and Woe definitely could use a little tuning. And then let's let's nerf their atonement specifically, honestly, in Raid, and then you can nerf penance. But this is pretty brutal. This is honestly pretty brutal. But they were overperforming to a point where they might land on their feet. Who knows? We'll have to see. Hopefully this doesn't gut them, because I know a lot of you guys and a lot of people swapped to Disc Priest this tier because of it was the only one getting invited to keys realistically, but a lot of people swap, so hopefully this does not gut Disc Priest. And I'm worried that if they're trying to push you back into Void Weaver's arms with his Void Blast damage buff, I'm worried that, you know, the penance damage nerf is also going to affect Void Weaver and just keep all of Disc Priest down. But we'll just have to wait and see where everything lands. And then Atonement is now 125% more effective. Okay, so they did do that. I didn't even read that, but that's nice. So they're at least giving that love back to the Mythic Plus. But still, man, that's heavy-handed. But in Raid, yeah, you're gonna see they were cranking in Raid. But man, the penance damage nerf on top of Atonement in Raid, that's a lot of throughput. That is a lot of throughput. And then losing some shields. Okay, so maybe it's not all doom and gloom. But what do you guys think? Are people gonna start playing Void Weaver again? Hopefully. I like Void Weaver. I think it's very simple. Okay, let's move on to the next juicy one. That's, once again, that's pretty heavy-handed, but I guess now reading it and seeing how it's all going to play together with this Atonement change now outside of Raid being buffed, maybe it's not the end of the world. It might not be the end of the world. Hopefully you guys don't have to main swap again, because I know how painful and annoying that is. Anyways, let's move on. So Holy Priest, they definitely do need tuning. They definitely do. Holy Nova damage increased by 30%. Sick. Okay, those Rhapsodied Holy Novas gonna be pretty chunky. I like it. Prayer of Healing increased by 15%, and Prayerful Litany causes Prayer of Healing to heal its primary target for 125%, was 75%. Very cool. You know, maybe you actually play the 5-man healing spell in the 5-man content, or the AoE healing spell in the raid. Like, who would have thought? And then Prayer of Healing's mana cost also reduced by 10%. They're really trying to push this. They did, you know, open up some design space for Prayer of Healing to take up more of the build, or more of what Holy Priest is composed of, and it just never stuck. So it's nice to see that they're still trying to push it. I'm glad they're not like actually trying to hard push it. They're just trying to say, hey, you know, reminder, this spell, you know, you can take it if you want to. So very cool. And then also Prismatic Echoes increases Echo of Light's healing by 8 to 15% instead of 5 to 10%, and Renew healing by 20 to 40 was 15 to 30. This is actually huge, because Echo of Light still does a big chunk of healing. And then also Renew, especially like in Mythic Plus, this could be pretty cool, because I've seen them go that single target Renew talent, and then now this could just giga crank their single target Renew. So that could be pretty cool. But I think honestly, I feel like that's actually a pretty big buff. Am I crazy there? That feels like a good buff. And then on top of all of these changes, once again, just like the Disc Priest things, changes stack on top of each other. All healing done is increased by 3%. All healing. And then also on top of that, the Twin Sight from Oracle now applies 4 stacks of Prayer Mending, was 2. So huge buffs for Holy Priest. Did they need them? Honestly, yeah, they did. So they're going to start showing up in raids more. Hopefully people who are, you know, mad about the Disc Priest nerfs might have a reason to try out Holy, and you might enjoy it. I think it's a very fun spec. Holy Nova damage being increased, that's pretty nice. Now they can do some more damage in Mythic Plus, catch up that way. On top of that, they're getting more mastery healing if they want to. And then they're just getting more Prayer of Healing reasons to take Prayer of Healing in different forms of content. So honestly, pretty cool. Now, Resto Shaman though. Resto Shaman, I definitely think they could have done more here. It would have been really nice to see a mana buff. So if they would like, just tone down how much mana, like something like Farseer or something, or not Farseer, Riptide, something you're pressing often, like Chain Heal, like something. Take some mana off of something would be super nice for Shaman, but we have to take the wins where we get them. At least they're tuning Farseer. I mean, Farseer is just like, I've tried it recently. It is not what it used to be. It feels wonky. It feels like very ineffective. So at least they're buffing the damage of Farseer, but man, it's a head scratcher why they are trying to push mastery on the Farseer tree. It's just in an odd spot. So you know what? Keep looking at Farseer. Soon it'll get to a point. Maybe this puts it to a point where it's like good again, or like as good again, I should say. But yeah, I still feel like Resto has some like just structural problems. I don't think it's like anything fundamental, but like structural problems, and part of that is their mana. Like in Raid, you just blow through mana. I feel really bad for my guild's Resto Shaman because, well, he likes doing it, but he has to sit there and pump damage during so many AoE phases because he just needs the mana for when his cooldowns are up. So it really sucks, but anyways, let's look at the stats. Let's look at why these changes are happening. So first up, we have the Mythic plus top 100. Now, once again, this is a big that's something that people do where they look at the top of what people are doing and think that that applies to their plus 8s. It doesn't. So if you are a non-healer watching this, please stop thinking that you need a Disc Priest to time your plus 12. You don't, okay? You don't. If you do, there's something wrong with you. If you think that, there's still something wrong with you. However, this is the top 100, and 22 of them are non-Disc Priests. 22. So that means that 78% of the top 100 is a Disc Priest. So clearly, at the top end, being able to actually do these high-end keys, the ceiling is only applicable, is only reachable by Disc Priests. And the very few like Ordomist and Ellesmere, those big names, I don't really know many outside of these. I don't know much of these guys, but like Laren, I know that name. But very unachievable other than if you're playing a Disc Priest, it's much more achievable. Also, if you think about like the tier right below like the top 100, like the top like 500 players, they're almost all of them are in push groups. And push groups, if you're applying to a push group as a non-Disc Priest, you can imagine what your chances of getting into that push group are. So as you start to slowly move down, you just start to kind of make your way all the way down to like plus 8s. And then still there are some people that think they need a Disc Priest for plus 8. So a lot of what you're seeing is community perception, except at the top end. This does show which healer is able to kind of push the ceiling further the most, and it is Disc Priest. So clearly something is wrong. But even more is wrong with the community perception of healers and what healers are capable of. So hopefully, it would have been nice to see them just tweak Disc Priest so the community perception could kind of be like, okay, let's give the other healers a shot. But now if they're tweaking Disc Priest, nerfing Mistweaver, it's like, okay, no one's going to take Mistweaver. They are buffing Holy Paladin, so yeah, people are going to start bringing Holy Paladins, but they're not changing a Pres Evoker. You only see one Pres Evoker here. They're buffing Holy Priests. You see 0 Holy Priests here. So it would have been nice to kind of see them just tune Disc Priest and then, let the community perception kind of like solve itself a little. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just me being a salty Mistweaver player. We can call it what it is. So that's Mythic Plus, right? That's its own issue. The shields were definitely allowing them to survive more mechanics than other healers can. They can mitigate just more damage. You got your double pain suppression, you got your barrier, you got giant shields. That's a lot of actual mitigation that scales. Well, the damage reduction scales off of the incoming damage, so it just allows you to push higher keys. But the shields don't. They scale off of your stats. But then we look at raid. I just clicked literally a random raid boss, Styx Bunk Junker, and you just see, once again, a very similar story. It's very reminiscent of 10.1.7. I'm not going to say that they're as strong as 10.1.7 Holy Paladin. I don't think they are. but man, they're putting out a lot of healing in raid. And this is the top 100 of throughput. So it's just all it shows is throughput capabilities, but still, I mean, like, golly, they were kind of out of control. So as much as I wanted to come on this video and be like, hey, Dispriest didn't need a nerf, blah blah blah, I'm gonna call it how it is. They definitely did need some tuning, a nerf. Pretty heavy-handed for their raid healing, which means that a lot of the rank 1 parses are probably locked in. People probably will not see this much HPS, but look at this guy, 657. What on earth? That's crazy. However, I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think about these changes? I definitely am happy for Holy Priest. I hope that we see some Holy Priest. I feel like now people are more incentivized to try it out. Just try it. It's good. They don't have really any mitigation like Disc Priest does. I guess they have their one spell that reduces your defensives cooldown for Mythic Plus, but no mitigation, so that does kind of suck in the high end. But if you're someone who pushes lower in keys, give Holy Priest a shot. It definitely can get the job done, and you'll be surprised. And now you're going to be doing some big old smacks of Holy Nova damage. Pretty cool. If you're a Mistweaver monk, which I know a lot of my community is, tell me what you think about this change, the Jade Empowerment change. I'm kind of annoyed by it, but I mean, I'm not going to say I don't get where it's coming from, but it's definitely very annoying, especially as someone who has been practicing this raid build a ton. I mean, I'm talking like I am running heroic splits basically each week to get more reps in. I've been practicing this build so much, gotten so much better at it with and for my Mythic raid group. And then now it's just going to be sucky, and I might have to swap back to the Yulon, which I am so tired of Yulon, if I'm being totally honest. So tired of Yulon. Let me know what you guys think about all these changes. It's some pretty big shifts, if you ask me. I'm excited to see how the top end corrects itself. You know, are more Holy Paladins going to show up? I definitely think so. Maybe more Resto Shamans and Druids kind of wedge their way in. But then I'm also hopeful, very hopeful, that the lower end solves itself. Hopefully the community perception gets off of this, we need a Disc Priest, and just lets other people into their groups. It's so annoying sitting in queue for an hour and a half, just seeing people wait on a Disc Priest to queue up, and then I don't know. It's very annoying, and it's like an imaginary thing. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I didn't rant too much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you guys like this video if you like any of these changes, or if you like my takes on them. You know, also comment below what you think about all of these changes. Which are your favorites? Which ones you're looking most forward to? Which ones you're upset about? I want to hear about that down in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any healer content. My name's Elvin Ninja 7. I appreciate you guys for supporting me. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care, guys.